Another compromise, I think, is that we've gone beyond diffusion, and we've gone beyond diffusion in at least two ways and two dimensions. We've gone beyond the notion that institutional pressure generates diffusion of organizational practices towards the idea that we need to take into account that not only does it generate diffusion, but also all diffusion is generally, comes together with translation and hybridization. But we've also come beyond the notion that institutional patterns diffuse towards the same idea that, yes, institutional patterns diffuse, and we have big cases of that in, just looking at the last 40 years of globalization across the world. This is really one way in which I define globalization is as being essentially a process of institutional diffusion and translation, hybridization. So we've, gone beyond diffusion to integrate the notion of translation and hybridizations, both for organizational practices and for institutions. And also towards, beyond diffusion, towards the idea that maybe we don't have translation, maybe we don't have hybridization, but maybe we also have the coexistence of different logics, to use the term here, the coexistence and encounter between multiple institutional frames that can actually survive next to each other, not necessarily translating or hybridizing themselves into each other. So there is this complexity, and this is the notion of institutional complexity that we see now becoming the last fashionable notion, last word, that we were very good at producing words, institutional work, institutional logic, institutional this, institutional that. Now the last one is institutional complexity, and it talks essentially about this. Still, yes, it's complex, so nothing is clear, the logic's not clear which logic does what, etc., etc. At the same time, my argument in a lot of my work actually is that still, if we go and we acknowledge the complexity, we still see some form of dominant pattern at work. And I'm not going to put words on this, but my first book was called Exporting the American Model. And I think I still stick more or less to that in different ways. But I still, have the intuition, and when I work, I find some confirmation to that intuition that there is still a dominant pattern. So yes, hybridization, translation, etc., but with an interesting question, which is, why is this logic remaining dominant? How far, how long will it remain dominant, etc.